staying hydrated, very important. Okay, I've been shooting with the Canon EOS R7 for a bit over a year now, I believe, something like a year and 3 months or so. And I want to be honest about this camera, about do I recommend this camera to a beginner photographer slash filmmaker slash YouTuber, content creator, whatever. And I want to be brutally honest about this camera. So yeah, let's go. Okay, 1 year with the Canon EOS R7. What have I to tell about that? Has the camera been as good as I thought it would be? Absolutely, it has. It has been a beast of a camera, and I have used this camera in many different places, in many different situations. I've been shooting with it in sub-zero temperatures. I have shot weddings, I have shot product shots, and I have made money with this camera, a serious money, not even just, a few $100 here and there, but I have done customer work with this camera, and it has performed fantastic. It has been an amazing camera, not just to start out with, but to actually do real photography and videography work for a customer. And when we just look into how many YouTube videos I have made with this camera, the number is, it's climbing all the time. I have made so many videos with this, not just for myself, but for others also. And I have been extremely happy with it. There is not a bad thing that I can say about the quality of the images, about the quality of the video. I mean, come on, 32 megapixel sensor on an APS-C camera. The photos that this camera produces are magnificent. And when you combine it with the right lenses, it's just magic. It just works. The autofocus is fantastic, it's fast and it's accurate, and you can take whatever photos you want with this camera and be happy. And in this price range that it currently sits in, something like $1,500, brand new out of the box, it's a fantastic investment. But there are a few things that I do have to state if you are thinking about buying this camera as your first serious camera. And this is not just about the R7, this is about all Canon cameras at this moment. As fantastic as this camera, the Canon EOS R7 is, and the entire Canon R lineup is at the moment, there is one thing that bugs the hell out of me. And that is that Canon has not released their RF mount for third-party lens manufacturers. That is a huge downside on Canon cameras at this moment. Because let's face it, the ultimate lens for the Canon EOS R7 and Canon EOS R10 at the moment is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8 art. This is the best lens for this camera at this moment. Hands down, there's no competition on the Canon lineup for this lens, and this is Sigma lens. But the downside of this lens is that it is EF mount, so you will have to use the EF RF adapter to use this lens. Because if you want to find a similar lens from the RF lens lineup for your Canon EOS R7, you are looking into buying the 15-35 f2.8, and that is a huge investment. That lens costs around $2,000 at this moment. So if you are on a budget and if you're thinking about starting out photography with the Canon EOS R7, take into consideration that you will have to buy quality lenses, expensive lenses for this camera if you want them to be on the RF mount. And yes, before you go into the comments and write that Canon is about to release the RF mount for some manufacturers, I do know that. There has been rumors about that for years now, and they might be actually releasing it for Sigma to create 3 lenses, but we don't know what those lenses will be. We have no clue. And the fact that we have been waiting for that for years is, it's crazy. I mean, how long time has the RF mount been out there? It has been out for years, and there still is no lenses from third-party manufacturers on the RF mount. And that is a thing which prevents me from full-heartedly recommending Canon cameras to anybody at this moment. And that is bad because I love this camera. I absolutely love this camera. It is a beast. It has been all over the place with me and I have been super happy with it. But as the hunger grows to have better quality photos, you are gonna end up buying very expensive lenses. So if you would be asking me that would the R7 be a good choice for you as a beginner photographer, as a beginner content creator who wants a good solid camera, I would still recommend the R7, but I would very much emphasize on the fact that there are no third-party lenses for this camera. None. For the RF mount, there are absolutely no lenses, and that is a huge downside. But if you would ask me that have I been happy with this camera, have I been pleased with the results that I have gotten from this? Absolutely yes, absolutely. It is a fantastic camera for the price point. Fantastic. And that is why I'm torn between that. Can I recommend this camera to you, or should I recommend something else like going into Sony, like Sony a7 IV, which is a bit more expensive as a camera body, but you can buy cheaper lenses for it because they allow Sigma and other third-party manufacturers to create lenses for it. I know for a fact that if Sigma could create an RF mount, let's say 16 to 28 f2.8 for this camera, that would be a fantastic lens because Sigma is producing absolutely fantastic lenses. But since we don't have that, I don't know if I can full-heartedly recommend this camera to you as a beginner photographer. Because to everybody who has bought this camera and they ask which lens they should buy, as a starter, I always say that get this, Sigma 18-35 f1.8 art, get that with the EF RF adapter, and then get the Nifty 50, the RF 50mm f1.8. Those are my solid recommendations because they teach so much about photography and they are very good lenses and they don't break the bank when you go out and buy them. But would I recommend a Sigma 16-28 for this camera? Absolutely, if that was a possibility, absolutely. That would be like the very first thing that I would recommend anybody to buy for this camera. But I can't do that, and it tears me apart. There are also a few things that I want to talk about when it comes to making videos with this camera. One of them being the infamous Canon wobble, the IBIS wobble. That is just absolutely ridiculous. When you're shooting with a wide-angle lens, let's say the 10-22, which I use for vlogging all the time, the wobble is just driving me nuts. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Canon put this premium feature, the IBIS, on their cameras, but it just doesn't work as it is supposed to work on video. It's just bad. And that makes me really sad because, well, when you compare it to Sony has mastered it. They just did it better. And when I think that, does it bother me when I'm making a vlog or something like that? No, it doesn't bother me with vlogs. But if I want to make videos for customers and I want to trust the IBIS to do its work, then I cannot do that. I always have to crop in on the image to get rid of the wobble, and still it looks a bit gelish, you know, this kind of, and I don't like that. That is a downside of this camera. That is a downside of the IBIS in general in Canon cameras at the moment. For photography, it's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely ridiculously good, but with video, not so much. And then one thing that I want you to take into consideration when buying this camera is the fact that it is an APS-C sensor camera. It is not as good in low light situations as a full frame camera. That is a fact. When you start to ramp up the ISO on the Canon EOS R7, the noise will increase drastically. Take that into consideration if you're thinking about buying a camera for everyday use, to take photos of family, for taking photos in family events or something like that, and you're planning to shoot a lot of stuff indoors. You will have to ramp up the ISO because of the smaller sensor, and that is going to introduce noise into your photos. That is something that with an APS-C sensor you cannot avoid. You can compensate it by using a lens which has a wide aperture like the Sigma 18-35 f1.8 or the 50mm f1.8, which let in more light. But keep that in mind that an APS-C sensor camera can never perform as well in low light situations as a full frame camera. For me, this has not been a huge issue. Of course, a few times when I've been shooting weddings or events, I would have wished that I would have had a full frame camera for certain situations to get more light in, but it is not a huge issue. It is not a deal breaker, but that's just something that I want you to keep in mind when you're choosing your camera. And now, after 1 year of taking photos with this camera and creating content with it, would I buy it again? Yes, absolutely. But as things are moving on in my career as a photographer and as a content creator, would I buy another Canon camera? No, I would not. I cannot justify of buying another Canon camera as long as they are withholding the lenses with the RF mount to themselves. As long as they do not allow third-party manufacturers to create lenses with the RF mount, I cannot justify myself to buy another Canon camera. And that makes me sad. That just makes me super sad, because these cameras are amazing, but we also need amazing lenses on a little bit lower price than what the RF lenses are on Canon lineup. They're just sickeningly expensive. And when you're thinking about buying the Canon EOS R7, which is a $1,500 camera, which is an absolute beast of a camera for that price point, do you really want to spend $2,500 or $3,000 on a lens, on a one lens that will perform absolutely fantastic on your camera? I don't think so, because I would go with a Sigma 24-70 f2.8 or with a Sigma 16-28 f2.8 any given day over the Canon RF lenses, any given day. They are fantastic lenses and the price is significantly lower. But remember, these are just my opinions about the Canon EOS R7 and about the current Canon lineup. You can and you should make your own decision when you're thinking about buying the next camera or the first camera for your use. The final line about do I recommend the Canon EOS R7 for a beginner? Yes, I do. But look into the fact that the lenses, the quality lenses that Canon offers for their R series lineup right now, they are expensive. So if you're on a budget, then I would highly recommend to look into the side of the Sony cameras, what they have to offer, and think really hard that do you want to save money on buying an APS-C sensor camera from Canon, or should you buy a full frame camera like the A7 IV from Sony, which is a little bit more expensive as a camera body, but you can then save some money on buying third-party lenses. That's all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was just me sharing my experiences and my opinions about the R7 and Canon cameras in general. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you did, subscribe if you have not done so already, and as always, I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.